All righty. So we are live with our pop-up eclipse psychic chat. Oh my gosh, what an eclipse we have ahead of us. So while I'm here in the room talking to myself. So here's what we have going on. So now for the next couple of days until we get to this eclipse on the 6th, we'll be doing pop-up chats. And to give you guys a bit of a hand with this, I will give you some times. So fat. I will give you some times when we can expect to find me here. So if you're a subscriber, you will get notifications. If you're not a subscriber, you should probably sign up so that you can get notifications. And our pop-up chats for this week will be tomorrow morning, Friday, from 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Friday night, we'll do a Friday night eclipse party from 7 or 8 p.m. we'll start. And then again, Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. So these are our, there we go. These are our upcoming live streams. This is so professional. So Friday, tomorrow, like 8 to 9 a.m. And then again, Friday night, we're going to have a party at night from like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Make sure you're subscribed so you get notification that I'm on. And then Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. So that's when we will be coming back to do more free readings and chit chat about the eclipse coming up. So if you know people who might be interested in getting a free reading, you might want to let them know. So, all right, where are we? Okay, so I have a guest in the room. Hello. Please introduce yourself because this doesn't tell me. The system is a little weird, so it won't tell me who's in the room. It just shows me how many people are in the room. So if you don't introduce yourself, I have no idea who I'm talking about. Yosh. Ooh, what a great name, Yosh Wadhwani. All right, so we're here. This is a pop-up psychic chat. So if you have questions, feel free to ask. And now is a great time. Keep moving this camera on. I'm so sorry. Now is a great time to ask these questions because it's just us. So there's not 100 people in the room that you're fighting with trying to get 5 minutes of time. Hi, Shabana. Hi, CeCe. Hello. Oh, so we have an eclipse coming up on January 6th. This is a huge eclipse. It's like a giant super full moon, new moon. I think this is a new moon. It's like a giant new moon. Astrologically, this is a particularly auspicious new moon. So there's a lot of important things that are happening on a big level for a lot of people, like in terms of humanity as a whole. On a personal level, eclipses tend to be a little challenging. So what we're doing is this is a pop-up psychic chat. So every now and then I get online and I just literally spontaneously kind of open up a live stream and we do free readings online. Coffee. And also some astrology chat and chit chat and all that sort of stuff. So I don't really have the live streams on a schedule because I work. I actually work in the real world. So I have to kind of move this around my other schedules. So that's what this is about. So who would like to ask the first question? Yeah, we did this last night and it went well. I was very pleased. Go ahead and post your question and we'll go ahead and get your reading. And it's always funny doing this stuff because people often don't tell you everything when they ask a question. So they'll ask you like it'll sound like the most innocent question in the world. And then you find out that the innocent question, like, will I ever see Mark again? Turns out that, Mark is in the process of a divorce and he's an international spy and he's on, some kind of deployment overseas and he's being hunted by Ukrainians, and so when they're asking like, will they ever see Mark again, what they're really saying is, will Mark get through his divorce and live through these adventures and come home? But they always give you that information after you do the reading. So this is always entertaining when people give you feedback. All right. Will I get better financially this year? I will get to everybody. I'm just going to go in the order that the questions appear. So this is for Yosh Wadhwani, and he's asking about, will his finances improve this year? So the deck that I am using right now, oh, yay. Interesting. The deck that I'm using right now is the Phantasmagorical Tarot, which is a beautiful, beautiful, weird, funky kind of deck. So don't be alarmed when you see the cards. They're a little strange. So the answer to your question, Yash. So I'm seeing a couple of things. So the message is very clear. Like, you should listen to your mother, or the women in your life. So where your finances are concerned, the protection and blessing and growth that we're seeing around money for you is literally going to be a direct connection to the women and the support of women around you. So be very good to the women in your life and your finances will improve. And I know that sounds really weird, because it even sounds weird to me, but I don't have a full picture on my end. I don't have little pieces of information. So for whatever reason, this is the way the message is coming through. The other thing that it's showing is that you're a little suspicious. So you don't really trust other people giving you advice or handling your money or sharing your money with other people, especially with women. And that needs to be worked out. So in order for you to make any forward movement and progress and improvement in your finances, you're going to have to work on the not trusting people thing. And you're going to have to work on really getting on board with the women in your life that are invested in your well-being. Does that make sense? Please tell me that makes sense. So, and here's the cards that we have for that, right? So isn't this a beautiful deck? Look at this. So there's the Empress and the Ace of Cups and the Nine of Swords. So these are your cards for the reading. And out of those three cards, that's the information I was receiving. So just for me, if you don't mind, since I'm doing this for free, the only thing I'm asking for you guys as a form of payment is just to give me feedback and to confirm or elaborate on what I'm getting. Oh, well, see, then, okay, then you should listen to your mother. I don't know what this is about, but for whatever reason, your mother's going to be very important in making sure your finances get on track. All right. And Shabana. I had a fallout with my love interest. Want to know why he behaved like this and if things will be all right soon. Okay. So before I pull the cards, I'm gonna add my 2 cents, and then we'll see what the cards and the spirits have to say, right? So the problem is when we have, and relationships are difficult, period. So when we start talking about, well, why did you act like this? What this means is that we have an expectation of how the other person is supposed to behave. And we can't control other people's behavior or how they're thinking. So oftentimes what they've done to upset us, not always, but often, whatever they've done to upset us is a symbolic thing, right? So it's not that the gesture or the behavior was actually bad as much as what it symbolizes to us is the problem, right? But I don't know all the details around this. So let's see what the cards have to say. Why he behaved like this and if this will be all right soon. Oh, interesting. So Shabana. So what I'm seeing around your partner, your love interest, they're on the beginning of a very huge, significant life cycle for themselves. Like they're really ready to like get in there and make a success of themselves. So they've got big plans, big ambitions, big dreams, and now the wheels are starting to turn. Like life is starting to move in the direction it's supposed to. Um, so their primary focus is on where they're trying to go and everyone and everything that's going to help or hinder in that process. So if we're asking about why he behaved the way he did, the first thing, because I don't know what he did, the first thing I would do is I would look back at this, whatever the conflict between us was, in terms of his current agenda moving forward. Okay, because whatever this is, it's a reaction to a situation based on how this fits in his life moving forward. So he's got big things going on and he's starting big cycles. So things that are happening right now either fit or they don't fit, right? And that can cause some conflict. So here are the cards, right? Isn't this great art? I love these cards. Okay, so these are his cards. So he's huge, huge, huge life cycles. He's really trying to get something going, and this is the year it's all going to start. So this is a very critical year for him. He does not have time for what he sees as distractions and delays and obstacles. So if he's interpreting something as holding him back or pulling him back or is not going to help get on board with him to move forward, it's going to be a problem. And you're asking if things will be all right soon. So the answer would be yes and no. What I'm getting is that he's going to take control of the situation very soon. Like he's going to man up and he's just going to own the situation and he's going to handle it. So you're not really going to have a lot of choice in how things go because he's going to let you know what we're going to do and how we're going to do this. So if you like that and you need like a strong, firm hand in a relationship, this is going to be fantastic for you. If you don't like that and you need to be able to make your own decisions and you need a lot more flexibility and more fun and play in your relationships, then it's going to be a problem. So this is the outcome card as far as how this is going to go, right? This is literally a person or a man owning, his world and taking responsibility and taking charge of business. So if things will be fine, they're going to be fine for him. But whether you get what you want depends on what you're comfortable with. Does that make sense for you? Okay. All right, good. And this is for Cassandra. I've been having thoughts of leaving a part-time job. Is this the right move? Mm. So, my answer, Cassandra, is that now is not the time to do these things. It would just be disruptive and just messy. And also, too, I'm not seeing anything after that. Like, so if you leave the job now, I'm not seeing improvement or even necessarily a replacement. So literally, like leaving right now is going to cause more problems than the inconvenience of being in the job. So the cards that we get for this. So this is when we're asking about if we should leave the part-time job now, right? Yeah, this is no, Jesus, no. And this is what comes after it, right? You see that? Sorry, that's the Chariot. So, and this combination of cards indicates that nothing's moving. So literally, if you quit the job, you're going to quit the job and just not have anything to go to. So I would wait. I would wait. Hi, full moon. Hi, Natalie. Well, Shabana. So the thing about it is, so you have to be young because old people, like old women and old men, like we know it's much more complicated than that. So as far as going through changes in a relationship, like whether it's love based or not, for the long haul, for the long term. One of the things that we learn over time is that it's not enough to love somebody. You really have to be comfortable with how you guys do things, right? Because ultimately, relationships and marriage, it's a team effort, right? It's like a team race. You both have to be able to work together comfortably in order to get anything done. Because otherwise you just interfere with each other and then neither one of you get anywhere, right? So, you can love somebody immensely, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you can live together or work together, right? So if his whole way of going through his life moving forward is comfortable for you, and this works for you, then yes, this is absolutely phenomenal. But if it's not comfortable for you, the thing you remember is that in any relationship, if somebody's way of doing something is not comfortable for you or doesn't work for you, there's not enough love in the world that's going to make the relationship improve, because ultimately you can't be anything but yourself. So if it works for you, that's awesome. But if you're trying to twist yourself up to be a person that you're not, to try and make this relationship work, that's going to be a whole set of other problems. So yada, yada, yada. All right, so let me get on the list. CeCe, may I ask for messages Spirit wants me to know for my life right now? Okay. So these are the cards that you have. I know you're like, well, what the heck does that mean? So the message that I'm getting from them, as far as what they want you to know right now, is that it's okay. It's okay to have had the experiences that you had. You can't live in the past. You have to let it go. You have to move on, right? And more importantly, you have to be optimistic that there's something to move on towards. So there's still more ahead of you, um, even though you're not seeing it or feeling it right now. So don't let your fear and your cynicism get the best of you. There's a lot of happiness and pleasure literally in the immediate future for you. You just have to be willing to stop indulging in this constant, like, oh my God, it was so horrible, and reliving the past. So close up the door to the past and be open to moving forward, because there's a lot of really pleasurable, happy things waiting for you. But you got to get out of the memory room first, right? Room of memories. Natalie, will we produce and finish our film this year? Ooh, exciting. Oh, okay. Well, this is an interesting answer. So let me show you what we got. This is for Natalie about her film. Okay. So what this is telling, and so for all of these things, you guys, obviously take everything I say with a grain of salt. I can be wrong. I can be misinterpreting something. But with that said, what I'm seeing for Natalie's question about whether her film is going to be produced and finished this year. So what I'm saying is that yes, the film will be finished, but maybe not produced, because and I'm not completely sure how this works with filmmaking, but here's what I'm seeing. What I'm seeing is the problem is going to be in the editing or the production room. That's where all of the hang up and the headaches are going to be. And also contracts are going to be an issue. So make sure now, if you haven't already done it, that everything is clearly spelled out about what is expected from whom and by what deadline and how much they're getting paid and what rights they have before, during, and after this film is finished. All of those little details, because it looks like somebody, once you get the filming done, the creative process done, you actually go into the work. And the little bit I know about video stuff is all the work is the editing. Like, good Lord. Once you start getting to the gritty editing, not fun part, that's where the problems are going to come in terms of workload, work schedules, work expectations, payment, and people literally holding up the line because, hey, you owe me, right? So that's going to be the issue here. So you want to get on that now, because a year is a long time to have to deal with this if you get your project done in 3 months and it takes you 12 months to get it off the editing table. Well, Shabana, you'll be happy to know that you will have no problem with this man taking charge. So, sorry, back to Natalie. Right. So again, with your filmmaking, whatever this film video is that you're doing, make sure that the paperwork and the agreements are clear now, not later, because this is where the problem is going to come in. That's what's going to hold up everything. As far as your music, is it that I'm seeing? Your new song. I'm seeing your song getting a really good positive reception. So I don't know what your definition of being a hit is, but it's going to be very well received, and it's going to be noticed by somebody who is in a position to make decisions about these things. So it will be successful. It will definitely be successful. So yes, please tell me you're not signing a contract under an eclipse, right? Now there's an interesting thought, right? So, we are under the eclipse, two of them all month long. Like we've got two major eclipses that are sandwiching us from both ends of the month. Um, and typically when people talk about contracts and stuff, it's always Mercury, right? Like, oh my God, don't sign during Mercury retrograde, right? Which, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. However, with eclipses, there tends to be a little bit more going on because eclipses typically indicate that there are outer forces that are at play in our lives that will affect and change outcomes because it's going to throw in, the curveball or the wild card, right? It's going to throw in that thing that nobody saw coming, and totally change the playing field. So, if you have to do something significant that is binding, like getting married, signing a legal contract, starting a business, um, any of these things, like if you're doing it this month, I strongly recommend that you make sure you get a second set of eyes on whatever your decision you're making. But the other thing too is that if you have the little bit of extra money, go get an astrologer to look at your chart with these eclipses. And when you're looking at having to sign or start this thing, to make sure that this is a good time for this and not you going through a lot of motions only to end up having everything completely turned upside down before this is over. Um, so just a thought. So, and naturally, of course, because hi, I'm an astrologer. If you're watching this video after the live stream and you're interested or you've got like, oh my God, you can definitely reach me. If you go to my Patreon page, and I'll put the link down below. I have a special exclusively for Patreon subscribers. So for $50, we can do the whole chart service, looking at your chart and this thing that you're considering doing this month and making sure that this is a good move. And if not this month, then looking at perhaps another time when you should do that. So definitely look below for that information about how to find me on Patreon. Okay. So I don't know. So Natalie says, no, I'll postpone after the 5th. I have no idea what that means. No idea. That sounds like tech lingo or something. I don't know what that means. All right. So with that said, lovelies, do we have any other questions? So, and we can certainly talk about astrology while we're cooking up good questions to ask, right? Yeah, so the Patreon page, I can put that here, I think. So does that show up? It might not show up. I know sometimes this chat window does weird things. All right, so what I'm going to do is put spaces between everything so it doesn't block it out. There you go. So you just want to close up the spaces between the things and then the www at the beginning. But if you go there, that's where I keep my blog and it's where I keep my other articles and monthly scopes and all sorts of fun stuff. So there's more over there that's not on the videos here. So that might be worth checking out. There's some free content over there as well. So you can kind of pick and choose and peruse and look around and see what works for you. Oh, thank you. All right. Are there any messages I need to know for 2019? Okay, so give me a second. I'm getting a transmission, so this is going to be a second. I've got to figure out what the hell I'm hearing. So and I will read the person that this message is for when I'm done. I've got to keep this channel open for a second. So here's the message that I'm getting. During this year, you will find yourself in position where the things that you want and desire are so overwhelming. They are to the level of addiction, or you may be surrounded by people who are extremely charismatic, that are very irresistible to follow. In all things, this is a matter of blinding desire versus taking a higher road or doing what's right. The most important thing this year is going to be ooh, man, getting a hot flash. The most important thing this year is going to be about getting to the essential truth of your nature. This is no time to continue pretending that you don't know who you are. You will be given opportunities. You will be given opportunities to take small risks, to put yourself in positions to gain rewards from this, but you will not see the opportunities unless you get quiet, you pay attention, and you get out of ego, if you get out of desire. So you have to get to that quiet, detached place where you're hearing and seeing things that you would normally miss, because otherwise you would have been so immersed in your whirlwind of emotions and wants and needs, sort of stuff. So this is going to be a very, very important year for you to cut through the nonsense, excuse my language, cut through the bullshit, and get honest about yourself and get honest with yourself so that you can unfold the next great chapter of your life. Your time is up. This is the year to do it, or resign yourself to everything that you've known and nothing more. Ooh, that's heavy. Jesus. All right. So this message is for Cassandra. I hope that makes sense for you, because that was a major transmission. Jesus. Well, I mean, definitely keep me posted. So I won't remember this reading. So certainly remind me what this reading was. And definitely keep me posted as far as how this manifests or presents itself in your life, because that was huge. Jesus, girl. Mm. All right. So Shabana. Yeah, listen, Cassandra, you're really gonna this is no joke. I don't know what this is like. This came through very differently than most of the information I get comes through. So they really wanted you to hear this loud and clear. And they really you're going to have to make the conscious, concerted, deliberate effort to get into that quiet space and detach from this circus inside yourself, because this year your passions and your like this drive and this urge, all the things are going to be like turned all the way up. The volume's going to be way up on this stuff, which is not going to be helpful. So it's kind of like the story of Buddha when Buddha went into deep meditation and he was tormented by the demon goddess or who created all these illusions to try and break him from his meditation so that he could not attain enlightenment, right? So it's like it's literally the how bad do you want it thing. And but it's not about obstacles and resistance. In this particular instance, like Buddha, it's not about obstacles or resistance, it's about the seduction into old ways of doing things and easy ways to make excuses and literally the easy way out, right? Instead of taking the time to kind of drop into that silence and detach and start learning to be a different person, right? So, all right, where are we? I have another question. What's coming my way in 2019? How will the year be for me? So, Cassandra, Cassandra, geez, I'm sorry, this is um, Shabana. So, Shabana, this is a year of establishing things for you, right? This is literally a year of putting your tent stakes in the ground and establishing something or building a foundation. So, these are the cards that we're getting. I know this means nothing, right? So building foundations, putting your tent stakes in the ground, getting settled, looking at long-term relationships and marriage and wanting to really, get in there and grow into a more solid place with a partner so that you can actually start working on a life moving forward. Wait a minute. Is this the Shabana we just talked to about that had the boyfriend that had the, see, I can't keep track of this stuff. Oh, this is the Shabana. Oh my God, how funny. These cards come up twice. Well, there you go, darling. I swear, sometimes the spirits are so funny. Well, it's this year. It's all going to be about that this year. It's all going to be about that this year. All right. So, anything else? And you can do because I'm feeling friendly and I'm feeling experimental. If you know somebody that could benefit from a question being answered that can't get on the computer, if you want to call them, we can try this. I don't know how clear the information will come through, but you can call and ask, you can ask me on their behalf, but they have to actually give you the question. So we can try that. If you guys want, if you know somebody right now you can reach by phone, you can definitely give them a call and just give me the information online. We'll see how that works. Some other things, just want to let you guys know, moving forward, I'm going to be trying something new, feeling very experimental this year. And one of the things that I want to do is I'm going to start doing palm readings through the computer. How exciting is that, right? So what I'm going to do is have people, give people the opportunity to send me a photograph or a video of their hand, because see how clear that comes through, right? So if I can see your hand, that's not the same thing as touching your hand, but if I can see your hand, I can certainly read your hand and your palm. So I'm going to try doing that online. I think that's going to be fun, and we'll put the pictures of the palms up in the video. So this is going to require a little video editing on my part. So I don't think I'm going to be able to do this live, um, but I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. Hi, girl. So, girl, we're doing pop-up psychic chats and under the eclipse. Yes, yes, definitely good, clear pictures. And the nice part is everybody's cell phone has these great cameras in them, so everybody can take a decent picture now without needing expensive camera equipment, which is awesome. And you can even take little videos. All right. So girl, if you have a question, you're welcome to ask. Just type it into the thing and we'll get you taken care of. Yeah, mysticism is a really big thing in India. But of course, India is a very old country and a very old civilization. They've been around forever. So mystics and philosophy and religion, yeah, like you guys have been on this a lot sooner and earlier than the rest of us. And the other thing is that a large part of the original structures are still in place. So in other places, um, like Arabia, for example, right? So the Moors, if I remember correctly, in northern Africa and part of Saudi Arabia or South Arabia, the Middle East, mysticism was a commonplace thing as well, and astrology originated there, as you know, as well as math and sciences. But the cultures and civilizations have changed and so much over time, and broken up with that, that a lot of it is no longer intact. So the cultures have changed over time. But India is just this wonderful cultural island that is, because it's an island and it hasn't been fragmented through civilization changes, you know, over hundreds and thousands of generations. A lot of the original mysticism schools and the way they were taught and that sort of thing are still intact. So it's fascinating to see the stuff that is believed to have been practiced and is still practiced in some variation now. All right. Girl power. When will my next relationship be? Okay, so your cards are here. Sorry, these are big, big, oversized cards, right? So, well, this is moving rather slowly. So define relationship, right? So I'm seeing someone around you, but I don't see this as a serious relationship, and I actually don't even see them being single. So this is somebody who's more than likely going to be committed or obligated otherwise, and might be a little bit older, um, but will certainly support your projects for whatever that's worth. And they should if they're not able to do anything else for you. So your next relationship should be shortly or soon, but I'm not seeing this as a be all end all kind of relationship. It's just kind of, it's there and it works sort of thing for you. And it should work for you. Oh, well, if that's the case, um, so girl power, if that is the case and that's the situation you're finding yourself in now, I don't see this changing for a while. It's just going to kind of, you know, it's just going to kind of limp along for a while. Mostly because there's not a lot of energy on your part to go change the situation, um, or the other person's. So it could easily be fall before you see something more significant coming along. Which is not to say that you won't have a lot of opportunities for dalliances and entertainment and there's a word for it, and so many of these slang terms now are so vulgar, I can't say them online. Um, but there will be plenty of opportunity through the summer for playthings, as it were, that you know are not going to be serious stuff. So it's not like you're going to be stuck with this person and that's all you're going to have. You'll have lots of opportunities for other stuff, but for something more meaningful, it may be closer to fall or the end of summer before something like that starts popping up. All right. K. Brooks chat. Okay, so let me get to K. Brooks in a second. Girl power. Yeah, no, no, no. And here's the really sad part. Okay. um, Here are some things that you may not be aware of. One, whoever the other person in in your partner's life is, and I'm suspecting the other person is a woman. And if it's not a woman, it's a very feminine man. But they are the feminine energy in that relationship. They are the ones who control the money. So this person can't afford to leave because it will cost him plenty, and he's not trying to hear about that. The other is I don't know what the age difference is between you and the other person, but what I'm getting is this almost like hypnotized effect that you're having on them, but it won't last. So, and I think there's a part of them that recognizes that. So they don't feel safe being so helpless to their own desires, as it were. And because of that, they're not certainly not going to break up their entire life to chase that around or to put all their eggs in that basket. But they're also not going to leave you alone. So, no, that situation is not going to change because he's not about to give up his security. And if he tries to get out of the current relationship he's in, it's going to cost him a lot. And he's not trying to hear about that. The other thing is that his fascination with you is temporary. Like it's literally only going to last as long as you are this thing he sees you as. So if you're an artist, as long as you're the artist he, secretly yearns to be, like that's how long the fascination will last. The minute you decide to do anything else with your identity, he will lose interest, right? If his fascination with you is because you're young, right? I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I'm just saying, like, if it's because you're young, the minute you grow out of a certain age range, it'll be over. Like, literally, you will age out of your hypnotic spell over him because it wasn't ever about you. It was about you being young and what that meant for him, right? Um, if it is something where you're naive, where there's just a whole lot of worldly stuff you don't know yet, right? So he gets to play the big mentor, teacher, whatever. Um, your innocence slash ignorance is what appeals to him. And the minute you finally get it together and learn and educate and grow into a more empowered position with life and yourself, you will no longer be hypnotically fascinating to him because it was never about you. It was about what your innocence and ignorance represented for him. So, no, that situation is never going to change, and at best it's a temporary situation. So I don't want to sound like a mercenary, but if this is what it has to be and this person only wants you because of what you represent to them and they're not bringing anything else to the table in terms of the rest of your life and your well-being, then you should absolutely maximize your benefit from this relationship because why, like everything that these people do should be an investment into your well-being because you're giving them your best reproductive years. I'm assuming that you're young. um but you do what you want. I'm not a huge fan of promises. I don't believe in promises. If you tell me you're going to do something or you want to do something with me, I want to see it. Like, don't promise me crap. But I am an old cynical woman, so you do what you want. Listen, money, time, resources, things, I don't care what it is, they have to do something for you because they're not serious enough about you. And again, whoever they're currently with has more of a hold on them than you do. So they're not going anywhere. And so how does this help you? Like, mm. All right, sorry. K Brooks chat. All right. Is there anything I need to know for 2019? K. Oh my God, you got all this romance in your cards this reading. This is amazing. Well, doggy. So, Miss K, let me show you your cards. My cynicism. Now I really do feel like a cranky old woman. Okay, so Miss K, these are your cards, right? So for 2019, my dear, what I am showing is that um, there will be the opportunity for romance, and love, and being a girly girl and more feminine, and really um, becoming a big glamour puss this year, and having an inspiration and a reason for it. That's awesome. So, um, for 2019, I would encourage you to enjoy and pursue and explore your more feminine, romantic, glam side, right? And this doesn't necessarily mean going out and buying an entire new wardrobe, but it does mean maximizing all the things that you have available to you that will bring forth your feminine graces. Um, so there's that part, and there's definitely the opportunity for romance and romantic interludes throughout the year. But even without the romance, this is definitely a good year to enjoy and pursue and really expand upon your femme glam vocabulary. There are a lot of rewards for it, and you're going to feel a lot better about yourself for it as well. All right. And we have 10. Hi, Megan. We have 10 minutes left uh, before we close up shop, before we close down the pop up box. So if you guys have a question, especially if you haven't asked one yet, if you have asked, give other people a chance. Um, Kay, does that make sense for you? So I don't even know what I was saying. Well, anyway, so if you have a question, ask a question. If you have asked a question before, let other people who may not have asked the question, give them a chance to get their question in too. The more specific the question, the more clear the answer is going to be. And it's gone. It's just gone like an ethers. Jesus. Will C reveal his feelings for me? All right, so I'm going to pull the cards. Then we're going to have two different answers to this question. Interesting. So one of the challenges when you do readings, right? And if you guys ever start attending your readings, like, oh, I need to dye my hair. Um, you will run into this over and over again. So sometimes we're presented with situations, and even as astrologers, it's the same thing. We're presented with situations or questions where logically, like our mind is like, oh well, clearly, blah 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 blah. Um, and this is all driven by our experiences and our biases and our understanding of the world and all the stuff that we interpret the world with, right? It's not about psychic ability. There's a filter that things go through that it's just like, oh well, that's just ridiculous, that's not gonna happen, right? So there's that. And then there's the other side, which is the information that's coming through from spirit, right? So the challenge is understanding which is which and being able to separate yourself from your biases and your judgment. It's not easy to stay on top of that so you catch it. And it does happen. So here's the thing, when I see questions like this, will John reveal his feelings for me? This whole thing smacks of mind reading, right? So because what we're saying is that we know how he really feels, because I can read his mind. Will he confess to it because I know I'm right? Like, and I don't mean to sound like an ass, but that's what when I hear this, this is what I hear, right? So logically, the biased part of my brain is just like, oh, well, that's just ridiculous. Because clearly, if you're fantasizing that you can read his mind and you can know what he's feeling, even if he's not telling you, then he probably doesn't feel this at all because this is all in your head. Right. So that's the logical part of me. And it's not for this person. I've heard, no, 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 it's okay. I've heard this question from other people. And this is immediately where my mind goes. Now, here's the thing, though, right? When we do the reading, it's not the same thing. So we can often get readings that give us a completely different answer than what we think we should probably get, right? But you have to be able to separate in your mind these things, or like your judgment filters through the reading. So here's the cards. So this is, and the reason I say all this because this is interesting, right? So these are the cards I got for that question, right? I love this artwork, right? And then this representing our person in question. So now here's what the not logical part of my brain, this is the information that I'm getting from spirit regarding the question. So what they are showing me is that this person in question actually does have some very positive, good feelings to the person asking the question. So they're not imagining this. There's something there. There's something very real there. What we're also showing is that the person in question is a big control freak, um, and doesn't like admitting to these things. They don't like being vulnerable. So they're being very manipulative and cagey and kind of weird, right? So here they're having all these great feelings about our questioner here in the room, but they're a big control freak that doesn't like to, own up to stuff and admit or be vulnerable. God forbid she should have any power in this relationship. Keep them guessing, keep them guessing. And here is all this manipulation. So this, when I see these two things together, right? Not a happy combination, because these two things, when I see them together, it immediately makes me think of these douchebags that read this book called the Player's Handbook. Have you heard about this? Um, so apparently there's a guy who's a total piece of crap, right? Who's giving really bad advice to young men about how to deal with women. And it's all very psychologically manipulative, passive aggressive, toxic stuff, like things like negging, which is supposed to be where you basically criticize and insult the girl and make her feel insecure, and then you give her a compliment, and then she falls in love with you, or some weirdness like that. Like, it's very destructive stuff. So these two cards, when I see them together, put me in the mind of somebody who reads this kind of guidebook, right, and applies those tactics to their relationships. Which isn't to say that this person does, but there may be a little bit of that going on, where they're so determined to not let you have the upper hand that they're like, "Arr." But ultimately, um, what I'm seeing is this, and what this is an indication that I don't know that they're ever really, not in the immediate future, going to admit what they're feeling. But what I do see is that the cost and weight of carrying that burden on their back is going to be significant. So the only person they're going to end up hurting is themselves, by refusing to just make that little bit of concession and act like an adult. So, and that's a completely different conversation than the logical mind is just like, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. So this is kind of the challenges of being a reader, right? Is this there's the logical dialogue, and then there's what spirit is trying to tell you, and trying to keep these things separate. So Megan, does any of that make sense for you? Like, is this the kind of experience you're having with him, or am I completely off the mark here? Because I'm not in love with what I'm seeing about him. And it's not that he's a bad person. I just feel like there's a lot of ways he could be going about things that are a lot less destructive or toxic. And you should definitely go, well, I was gonna say you should definitely go look for the player's handbook. Make sure he's not reading it. Well, I mean, and you can be a phenomenally good person. That doesn't necessarily mean that you like being vulnerable or that you're interested in giving up control of situations. Like controlling behavior has nothing to do with you being a good or a bad person. It has a lot to do with fear and not wanting to be vulnerable. Right. Well, and you know what you can do, Megan? So sometimes too, what helps when you guys get readings, sometimes too, it's good to share this with people who know you or know the situation and get their feedback on the reading and the question, because oftentimes they will see things that we don't. And typically, so here's an example, right? When I've done astrology and tarot readings in both cases, so we use astrology as one example. So when I've done astrology readings, I've literally had people who have argued with me, well, I'm not like that. Well, that's ridiculous. No, that never happened. And yada, yada, yada. It doesn't happen often, but every now and then there's always that one person, right? And of course, I'm like, well, Jesus, like, how in the hell did I get all this wrong? Like, and I'm checking the thing, like, did I write the right time of birth down? Do I have the right date of birth? Like, did I fall out of the bed and hit my head this morning? And then what will invariably happen in the situations is somebody who knows this person who is listening to the reading, right? Because usually they come in pairs, right? Will then stop and say, "Oh, what are you talking about? Of course, blah blah." And yes, you were exactly like that, and we all say that. So the thing about it is when we do readings, it's it's always helpful when other people can give objective feedback on what the reading is, because sometimes we, as the person being read, we have a very specific idea about what we want to hear or need to hear, and we won't hear anything else. Like everything else, we're just going to argue with. But then everybody else around us will point out or remind us, oh, no, 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 but do you remember the time? Da, da, da. Yes. And oh, that year? No, no, remember that year? That's the year that such and such happened. So other people can often, jog our memory or point out the obvious that we're not seeing. So that's always helpful. And with tarot readings, the same thing is done. Like tarot readings, oh my God. I literally had a reading one time. This woman sat there and I was reading for her, right? And she's like, the entire time, like with just this stony face, like said nothing, did nothing, just this mean face, arms crossed through the whole damn reading. Oh my God, I was sweating bullets. I'm like, oh my God, I just, ooh, like it's almost as bad as reading online, because when you're reading online, I can't see your face. So I have no idea, if anything I'm saying is registering with you or resonating for you. I have no idea, because it's literally just the, the computer screen and like words, flying by. That's not the same thing as doing a reading and being able to look at a person and see how they're receiving that information. Right. So you're literally operating blind here. Um, Except in this particular case, when people are all closed off like this while you're doing the reading, you just feel like everything you're saying is wrong from the beginning to the end with no exception, which is even worse. Because, man, talk about a confidence um, destroyer, right? So, woman sat there like that, like a mad Indian the entire time I did the reading, wouldn't say a word. I thought I was talking to, what is it, Mount Rushmore, with those four stony faces staring back at me, not saying a word. At the end of the reading, and her mother was sitting next to her when I was giving the reading. At the end of the reading, she was like, yeah, well, I guess I was okay. So I just knew, like I just wasted an hour of my life because this is apparently the worst reading ever. And I don't know who the hell I was getting all this information from, because clearly it wasn't her, right? And no sooner than she like gave this grudging like, right? Then her mother was like, no, that was actually really good, because you know what? Everything you said is exactly true. And this and that and the other thing. And she's like poking her. It's like, don't you remember? Like, da 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 da. Yeah. See, she said that. Um, so people and personalities and readings are challenging. And just so you know, the little backstory here, I found out that the reason this woman sat there like a pissed off Indian the entire time I was reading the reading is apparently she had a reading by somebody I knew who was a reader, who'd been around for years, a year before. And that reader, in this case, it was a male reader, but that reader had got her so whipped up and convinced that her husband was cheating on her and, this, that, and the other thing. And like all of these things get people all excitable because, in gypsy cold reading, the more whipped up you get people, the more panicked they are, the more they're going to blindly follow your lead. I mean, I don't know how you feel about Trump, but this is basically the entire campaign. Get them whipped up, make them panic, and they will follow your lead anywhere, literally right off a cliff. So, and that's what he's been doing. And some readers, some less ethical readers, follow the same script. It's not a difficult script to follow. The problem is that apparently this woman got so panicked and so, oh my God, and so angry that she not only had a fight with her husband about an imaginary affair he never actually had, that a reader suggested he was having, that she harangued him. She was so terrified that she literally harangued and harassed him about this imaginary affair for easily 6 months after the reading was done. They ended up divorced because she just went nuts. I mean, obviously there were other reasons they got divorced, but this was literally the icing on the cake. So naturally, when I'm sitting here doing a reading for her, she now at this point, by the time I get to her, she hates all psychics. They're all horrible people. Like, you're all a bunch of conners. So she was literally looking for reasons to justify her irrational hatred of me because she didn't know me from Adam. Just that I was a psychic, and that's all she needed. But I apparently passed the test, and I at least redeemed a few of us out here. But it was, yeah, this business, man, it's not all cotton candy and roses. I got news for you guys. Sorry. Yes. So I do personal readings. Now, your best bet is to go over to my Patreon page. There's a link to it listed further up in the thing. Um, yeah, I'm sure I put it in here. And there's information on how to get a reading from me. So we can do it over the phone. And I am signed in right now, as a matter of fact. And you can get a private reading that way, or we can do something. We can do any combination of something else. Just send me an email, and we'll sort it out. And also, if you're interested, you can also purchase a Patreon subscription. We have exclusive stuff for subscribers, and you can also purchase a 1-month subscription at $50 because I'm running a special through the holidays, which will get you a full reading on video and all that sort of stuff. But it's all on the Patreon page, so you can go take a look there. With the phone readings, you have to log into the computer because they process your credit card information. So you pay at the time of the reading. I don't hang on to your money. So you literally pay for the reading immediately before you get it. If you get a hold of me, then the reading is paid. If you can't get a hold of me, you don't get charged anything. But I'm not always online. So what you can do is you can sign in and have them send you a notification when I'm actually logged in. So if you're not there, let me see if I can get this in here. The best thing to do is to sign up and get yourself set up with an account so they can send you notices when I'm on the phone and working so you can reach me. Yeah, so reading people. Yep, we're set up to take PayPal. So this link is for phone calls. So if you want readings by phone, that's the link to go to. And like I said, set yourself up with an account or contact information so they can notify you when I'm actually on the phone working, so you know that I'm there and I'm available. All right, Megan, can what psychics see change? For example, I got a reading a while ago and I got a different outcome situation than I'm getting now. And I'm just curious if it's fluid. So that is a fantastic question. And the answer is yes and no. So the answer is yes. There are many times when we can redirect the direction that things are moving, like we can change lanes and take detours and stuff like that, because we know ahead of time that that's the trajectory that we're heading on. There are other times when situations are fixed and you're just going to have to deal with what you deal with. And it's kind of hard to say which is which, right? So the other thing is that it is entirely possible that the reading, that particular reading was not accurate. Because sometimes you'll get those too. And the big challenge, of course, is everybody thinks now, because being a medium um, is such a big popular thing, that if you're a medium, somehow your reading's going to be even more accurate, and that's not true at all. Like, I don't trust anybody who sits around going, I get the letter J, J, and the letter P, and an old person, and heart disease, something about heart disease. Did they die of a heart attack? And the reason I don't buy into this nonsense is because, one, that's too easy. Like, alphabet soup is not a psychic reading, and that's not a medium, right? Old people, heart attacks, these are all generic things. You don't need a psychic to put those two things together, because it's pretty common. And you see a lot of that with these so-called mediums, right? But the problem is, when we're looking for accuracy, like you want, because I would do the same thing, you want and hope to believe that a medium would somehow be more accurate than, generic psychic, and that's just not true at all. So, it's just kind of hit or miss. And, it helps too when you have opportunities like this to get free readings, so you can kind of see who you're dealing with, and listen to how they present and how they interpret it. Blind readings are always better. So readings over the computer, readings over the phone, readings where you're not physically sitting in front of me are more difficult for me, but better for you, because I can't read your reactions. So if I can't read your reactions, I have no way of manipulating this reading, to give you just literally just gobbledygook parrot feedback, which I've seen some hack amateurs wannabe psychics pull too, where they're literally reading your expression as they're doing the reading. And at the end of the day, they're pulling so much information from you, they're basically just regurgitating it back to you. So you don't even realize that you're giving them information, and they're just repeating it, which is kind of sucky. But the world is full of sucky people, so what are you going to do? So I'm hoping that answered your question. So yes, you can usually sometimes change the outcome, but ultimately, if you're getting a reading and it's all completely not the way things panned out, it's probably just a bad reading. And also do the connection between the reader and the person they're reading helps a lot as well. I know for myself that if somebody is open to the reading and they're not sitting there like, a stone Indian, the information is going to come through a lot more fluidly, because I'm not like all anxious, right? And they're also not blocking the energy. If it's very important for whatever reason, like in this case, clearly it was very important that this woman know that not everybody was a con artist. The information will come through clearly and accurately anyway, in spite of her being blocked. But why make it more difficult for yourself to get the information you need? Just be open to it. Smoking and drinking while doing a read. That's awesome. So, and so here's the thing, and I don't mean to throw everybody on YouTube under the bus, right? But so sometimes we have to put sometimes it helps put our thinking brains on, our thinking caps on, right? So the thing that I've learned since I've been on YouTube are a number of things. It's pretty amazing, right? So the first thing is that YouTube is primarily entertainment. People go to YouTube because they're either wanting to have someone verbally explain how to do something. I do it all the time. Or they're looking for entertainment. So, a lot of the psychics and astrologers and channelers and mediums and, conspiracy theorists, all these people. Hey, CeCe. They understand that this is just entertainment for a lot of people, so they're not taking it very seriously either. Sorry. The other thing, and here's the challenge with the visual medium, right? One of the things that I've also learned is that you can literally be an empty skin sack of hot air saying absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. I've watched this, right? There's a couple of people on YouTube, and I'm not going to name any names, but they're very attractive. They're very photogenic, and they've got this nice like visual thing going on. So, like with a card reader, for example, right? So it's all very, shit, my card's too big, but it's all very, very mystical and, so Aries. I'm I'm kind of feeling today like, like somehow your energy is just not right. And, people are just taking advantage of you. I don't know. So it's all of this like loosey goosey, like hot air that says nothing. She's literally, if you close your eyes and just listen, she's saying nothing. But because she's very easy to look at, she's very attractive online. She, does this really mystical sort of flourishy presentation. This woman's got an obscene amount of followers, right? And they're all, and literally people are like, oh my God, she's so deep. Oh, she's so profound. Oh my God, she's so good. She's such a psychic. Oscar the Grouch from Sesame Street would do a better imitation of a psychic. But people love her. People love her. So the thing about it is that when you're attractive on YouTube, like you've got the makeup on point, you've got the settings going, all sort of stuff, people are very easily led by appearances and will credit you with a lot more ability and intelligence than you might actually have. I see it on YouTube all the time. So when other people get on YouTube that have skill or talent see this, and they're not, because of the luck of the draw in the genetics department, not photogenic, and like myself, right? I'm not photogenic. I'm not, this models glamour puss. You know, it's it can be very disheartening because it's like, wait a minute, you tell me that if I looked good, I could be an imbecile in here and people would take me seriously, but because I'm not uber attractive, like I can't find an audience. It can get a little frustrating. So with that, people are always trying to find a way to make themselves special and different and entertaining because clearly that's what's popular. Um, so you're going to get a lot of people on here who are just doing it for the entertainment. And there's nothing wrong with that. At the end of the day, you are responsible for your experiences and who you invite into your life. So you are the one responsible for doing your research and doing things like closing your eyes and listening to what somebody's saying so that you're not distracted by their appearances. So as far as the smoking and drinking thing, like I'm sure that they do it. I'm sure it's entertaining. I know there's at least one astrologer who's a total stoner, total stoner. And I'm sure he's just making things up as he goes along, but he's entertaining to listen to, certainly that. And he's got this, he's young. So he's very connected to the younger crowd on YouTube. And they enjoy him, so, and he smokes and drinks while he's doing his things too, whatever. And sometimes I've seen him, he's literally so freaking baked when he's online. It's like, dude, seriously? But I also know he's not channeling anything. He's not a psychic. He's barely an astrologer. He's literally just an entertainer. And he knows that. His followers might not know that, but he knows that, and anybody who's paying attention knows that too. So yeah, I mean, if you're seeing stuff like that and you're like, oh, like you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But understand that a large part of YouTube is about entertainment. So you're gonna get a lot of people on here who are just entertainers, and this just happens to be an easy way to entertain people for them because they don't take it seriously. Oh, I don't know who Teal Swan is. I'll have to look that up. Well, and the thing about it with so Shabana says, yes, it's entertaining, but then someone might just take the reading seriously. Yes, I agree with you. And I have more strong feelings about that where astrology is concerned than I do psychics and mediums. And my reasoning is this, right? So with astrology, there hopefully there's a lot more thinking going on and a lot more analyzing and critical thought. And it's a lot easier to substantiate what you're saying with something, anything on paper in front of you. So it looks more valid. So astrologers have a higher level of integrity that they should be held to, and often are not. There's a whole lot of people. Like, I have heard people. I don't know how this works. You're on YouTube pretending to be a professional astrologer, and you're telling me that your teacher, who just told you last week this thing, because you're clearly still learning, how in the hell are you offering professional services when you haven't graduated from being a student to being the teacher yet? How does that work? I don't understand. Oh my God. So the world is full of amazing things. So there's that. But with psychics and stuff, the thing that I've observed over the years that I've been in and out of this business, which at this point has been almost 20, 30, Jesus, I have been lying about my age for so long. I don't even know how old I am these days, but for many years now. And that is that people will go to the psychic reader that gives them the information that they want, not what they need. So people will pursue a reader based on the reader being able to give them what feels good for them. There are a lot of people who don't actually want to know the truth, or the future. What they want to know is what will make them feel justified in whatever their thoughts are right now, right? Classic example. I knew a woman who was not a good psychic. She was a bit of a gypsy con, actually. Anyway, and she'd been involved with a married man for years. So she was all about that, throw down, hoe down, steal your man because I'm the girlfriend taking your place as the wife sort of thing, right? This is like her life, this whole Jerry Springer drama thing. So of course, naturally, when women came to her who were involved with married men, she had all kinds of sympathy for them. She totally got it. Oh my God, yes, I understand. So she would give them these readings that would feed into this fantasy that at some point he might leave his wife for them, right? So it'd be like, oh yes, I see that he and the wife have a fight this week. Da, 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 da. Yes. Oh no, you're fine. You're not going anywhere. Yeah, he'll eventually leave, but blah blah blah. So the whole reading in those situations was her eavesdropping on the husband supposedly through psychic means. Um, because these women that went to her, they didn't want to hear the truth, which was no, he's never going to leave you. And you're probably going to have a fight in 3 months and he's going to find somebody to replace you. Maybe. If he can't, he's coming back to you. Nobody wants to hear that. But they love this whole idea that somehow they've got a secret a little fly on the wall, into his home with his wife, this sort of thing. She made a lot of money doing that. It's not ethical. There's no integrity in that, but she made a lot of money doing that. She's very popular. So one of the things that I have learned, and there's another one who her way of reading is she just regurgitates information back to you. She like pulls little pieces of information out of you, and then she like, and she's like, so I'm feeling like, and then she just repeats back to you what you just said. People will go to the reader that's going to give them the information that they want. So if people don't want the actual prediction and people only want to hear something that's going to make them feel justified in whatever they're doing, that's who they're going to go to. So I used to feel bad for these people who are being taken advantage of, but then I realized nobody's taking advantage of them. They're signing up for this. They're volunteering for this. There are so many psychics everywhere that you can spend 5 minutes talking to or listening to somebody else's reading that they've done and get a sense of how this person does their thing to make a better decision. And you still chose this one. Like you chose this person. You volunteered for this. Nobody took advantage of you. So I don't feel bad for those people anymore. But astrologers, I really hold to a much higher standard of accountability. Psychics too, but so yeah, somebody might take the reading seriously. But at the end of the day, you make your own decisions. You make your own decisions. So if you've got some, hack psychic who's telling you that you're suggesting that your husband might be cheating on you, you make the choice to go home and scream at your husband about an affair you think he might be having because a psychic told you that. That was your choice. So if you took that reading seriously, how you respond to that and how you interpret that is completely on your own. Because you could have just as easily said, well, maybe that person was wrong. Let me investigate. Let me not go home and scream at my husband like a crazy person. Let me go check the bank balances and maybe find out where he's going when he says he's going out with the boys, and double check on that. There's 100 ways that you can handle something. Ultimately, you are responsible for your own life. Well, it's not even about believing or not believing. It's very much about how you respond to that. So is this information useful to you? Does this make sense for you? Does this resonate for you? And if it upsets you, okay, well, this is upsetting you. So what do we do with this now? So if it upsets me and there's something I can do to change this, what can I change? If this is upsetting me and there's nothing I personally can do, but I'm not even sure that this is true, what can I do? I can either become crazy and react to something that I don't know is true, or I can investigate a little further just to make sure that this is or is not true. Right? But I am a cranky, cynical old woman. So there you go. All right. So has everybody had a chance to ask a question? Because we're at an hour 20, so we should probably close up shop shortly. Yes, absolutely, Stacy. Just don't ask me if your boyfriend's going to leave his wife. I mean, not that you have a boyfriend who's married. I'm just saying. Teal Swan. I've got to look this up. Who is this Teal Swan person? All right. All right. So, Stacy, is the issue at my kid's daycare resolved? Well, that sounds ominous. That's interesting. So I don't know what the issue at the daycare is. So let me show you the cards I'm getting, and then we'll talk about what I see. Okay. So there's that. No, no. Aren't these great cards? All right, so these are the cards that we're getting. Finger out of the way. So, and what this looks like to me, the information I'm getting, the image that I'm getting is one of separation, almost like a quarantine. So it's almost as if they've had to quarantine or separate groups of people or individuals. So there's this like cut and divide thing going on with this. And this looks like it is or it will become a huge thing with a complete restructuring from the ground up of the way something has been handled. So I mean, I could be completely wrong. This could easily be something small and minor, but this looks like this is something that has really shaken up the system, as it were. So if it is not resolved, it will be very, very shortly. And it's only being delayed because there are so many other things that have been impacted by whatever this is. Oh, so Stacy, if you don't mind, since this clearly makes sense for you, because this looks huge and dramatic. So now, of course, I want to know because this looks interesting. So can you tell me, if you don't mind? So the answer to your question is if it should be resolved, but there may be a bit of a delay in it, only because there's so many other factors that involve that now have that are being impacted. So it's a whole restructuring thing going on. So there's your answer. So now my question is, can you tell me a little bit more about what this is? Hi, Joyce. Yes, give me 1 second. See, because with daycares, right? So this is the card we're getting here also. With daycares, the first thing I think is literally vaccination because there's such a huge tidal wave of stupidity these last couple of years in all fronts. That with little children, the first thing I think of as far as what I just described, now that I think about it, sounds a lot like vaccination issues or somebody sending a kid to school that's not vaccinated. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so there may be more going on with that employee than meets the eye. I mean, your kid is fine, but I would be curious to see if there are any changes in their hiring policies or disciplinary procedures or something like that with their workers. Yeah. Interesting. Interesting, interesting, interesting. Hmm. Okay. Joyce. Hi. Yes, you can absolutely ask a question. Go ahead and ask your question, and then it's at 1:30, and we're going to wrap up, you guys, because I should be a little bit more productive. Just saying. Yeah, there's something about that situation and that particular employee. There's more there. There's more there, and it's not anything that we necessarily need to know about. It's being handled, but more importantly, whatever it was really blew open issues that they're trying to nip in the bud. So that's good. So there are positive outcomes for this. Oh, there it is. If I should be worried about my job. They hired someone with the same title, and I expressed my concern. They said not to worry, but then she's supposed to help me, so I don't know. You're welcome, Stacy. Okay, well, so here's the question from Joyce, and honestly, if it were me, I'd be a little concerned too. So the question is, I'd like to know if I should be worried about my job. They hired someone with the same title, and I expressed my concern, and they said not to worry, but then she's supposed to help me. So I don't know. Yeah, I would be a little concerned too. Mhm. So the first question I want to ask, just to kind of see if I'm even on the same page right now, is your employer or your direct, the person you ultimately answer to, is that a man? And do you work in an office environment that involves either medicine, law, or insurance, or something where you're measuring value of something, like finances, right? And what type of business is this? Because I want to feel like this is insurance or legal stuff. Does your job involve legal or insurance stuff for the company? I I I don't mean to sound like an ass, but I don't work in an office, so I don't know what that means being an admin. So, and I don't know how the company is structured. So we'll assume yes, right? We'll assume yes. So, um, so here are the question. Here are the cards I'm getting for your question. So this in and of itself kind of describes the office environment. So there's a couple of things that I'm seeing. One, there's a lot there. You're being watched, and this is not. I don't say this to make you paranoid, but you are being watched. In that they're looking at ways to try and make things a little bit more efficient. Your boss, whoever you answer to, is behind this. So it's not with these things where they're trying to get rid of you, because you're doing a horrible job. It's literally about trying to make the office more efficient. and put people in places where their strengths are better, right? Now, with that said, the other thing that I'm seeing with this is there is a time issue. So there may be um, there's something about legalities and time. So even if they wanted to get rid of you, I don't feel like they're necessarily in a strong position to do such a thing. Um, so it's almost like a waiting period, or there is the possibility that you may leave, which is their concern as well. Now, the other cards that I'm getting with this, because this is kind of a muddy answer, right? Is this okay? And that. So this looks like there is the possibility. So this is what you do need to be aware of. There is a possibility that you may be left out in the cold. So right now is a very important time not to interfere with the training or assistance of the other person, because there's nothing you're going to do to change that. And I'll tell you why in a second. But this is a very important time for you to find other ways to either learn new skills to make yourself valuable, or to find other uh, things that you can do that make your time and experience in clearly having real value that can't be replaced, because you need time and experience in. So highlighting these things when they come up may be something you're going to want to make sure you do. Now, here's the reason I'm saying this other person is not going anywhere, and this is why you need to know about this. There's also a younger man in the office. And I don't know who this is. So I don't know if this is a nephew or a son or a brother or a partner, but there's a younger man in the office who is very important to the function of the company. And what I'm also seeing is a romantic interest between this man and someone else. So this may be the person that they just hired. In either event, there's some office romance oy, that either is going on or will be going on. And what you don't want to do is end up getting locked out of your security in your position because people are concerned about you gossiping. So the other thing is you're going to want to keep your mouth shut and you turn a blind eye, and just focus on making sure that they see your value, okay, with your time and experience in for what it is. And let that run its course, because office romances never end well. So just steer clear of that and let it run its course, and it will implode on its own. You are welcome, Shabana, and remember to like and subscribe so that you can get notified when we have pop-up chats come up in the future. So Joyce, does any of that make sense for you? I think I'm going to scare Joyce off. Well, I mean, I wish I could give you a more reassuring answer, Joyce. Unfortunately, I can't. And life is full of these things that make life challenging, right? So all we can do is find ways to navigate them and understand what's going forward. So maybe if we try breaking them, because now I'm being nosy, right? Let's try and break this situation down a little bit. So this person. So first thing is the cast of characters. Is there a younger man who is important to the operations of this company that you would be dealing with, or who could potentially be your boss at some point in the future? And is the person that they just hired to help you a female or a younger female? It's entirely possible that I could be completely off base. I'm a human being. It happens sometimes. So, and you're not in front of me. So any information you can give me to kind of open up this box will help me understand how far or close we are to what's actually going on. No, I don't think so. I don't know. Is the new assistant manager a guy? Oh, oh. So is the new assistant manager and the girl they just hired like close enough in age that you could see them possibly being interested in each other? Well, you know how their relative ages. I mean, obviously, if he's 20 and she's 80, they're not going to be romantically interested in each other. Well, I mean, unless he's got a geriatric fetish. All right. Well, in any event, Joyce, this reading will be here on video. You can return to it and take a look and kind of absorb it and work through it. So I'm gonna end this here with this because this is priceless, right? So this is the kind of nonsense you deal with when you're a psychic or an astrologer. Like it's Jesus, some freaking people. Oh my God. Right. So here, so this message just popped up. It is from somebody called Eat, Read, Love Inc., who I'm about to put on block in a minute. So enjoy this message. So they're sending me this message that says, I received a reading from you, and you told me I needed a vaginal rejuvenation. I booked the appointment, and the doctor said I didn't need it. You're full of me. All right. So now I'm going to block this person. Let's just remove them. So here's the thing, right? Anybody who knows anything about me and has heard me talk for more than 5 minutes in any of my videos, especially when we do these pop-up chat where we're doing psychic readings and pop-up chats, would know that I am the last person to tell anybody to go surgically change their bodies. You ladies are beautiful just the way you are. You do not need to have the labia of a 9-year-old. You do not have to have the boobs of a cartoon Barbie doll. You do not need to stick your head in a bleach bottle so that you can look like some like I don't know Teutonic princess. You don't need to put fillers in your lips to give yourself big porn star blowjob lips. You don't need to do any of that because women are beautiful just the way they are. Your good health is what makes you sexy. All right. So for anybody to confuse me with some moron that would tell anybody that they need to go have vaginal rejuvenation. Are you freaking kidding me? No, no, I don't even like women going out and mutilating themselves to put giant silicone sacks in their chest for bigger boobs. Like, why on earth would I ever tell somebody they should go slice up their labia so they look like a 9-year-old down there? Really? All right. So, whoever this wacko person is, I'm sorry that you feel like you need to go and attack your body and slice up your labia so that you can look like a pedophile dream with a 9-year-old vagina. I'm sorry that this is the condition of your life. But I promise you, madam, I am not the person who told you to do this because I would never recommend any woman go out and hurt herself like this because I think women are fine just the way they are. Our beauty standards, on the other hand, need a lot of work. So the next time you jump on my channel talking crap like this, y'all need to know you better be on point and you better have something to cite this with. I better be able to see the exact timestamp and the video that links to this where I said this thing. Because if you don't have it and you start jumping on my channel with this kind of craziness, no, just hell no, sister. Take that insanity somewhere else. And this is why you're having difficulty keeping a relationship and you've got to go carve yourself up to look like a freaking child to attract a wannabe pedophile because I'm just saying, you're a lunatic. I make plenty of mistakes on my own. I do not like being yelled at and accused of things that I did not do, and certainly things that are so against every principle and value I have when it comes to female empowerment. That is just a bridge too far, children, just a bridge too far. So, sorry to get all weird and intense on you. That was really not okay. Um, but if you think that you want to be in this business, you should know stuff like that you're going to get a lot of because yeah, they look for you. They hunt you down and look for you. All right. So happy days. We're under an eclipse. And I will be back on tomorrow morning. And then again, we'll have a little bit of a chat party tomorrow night. And we will do our little pop up chats as we go through the eclipse and we'll see how things go. Oh my God, here we go. So happy day. We're off to a good start. All right. Bye.